What's up, everybody? I am Thomas G. Bellezza, and welcome to the Right Mindset. Today is Saturday, so it's a live video where we get to have some fun. And right off the bat, I'm not a stalker, honest. Hey, Flowers, if anyone could stalk me, it's you. Especially if you're actually a liar. I want to live forever. I want to live forever. We can't live forever. All right. Anyway, Highlander, Queen. You can't go wrong with that, right? We are the princes of the universe. Today is all about rewriting the greats. That's right. We are going to rewrite the greats. But again, rewriting the greats doesn't mean that, hey, look at me, I can write. Rewriting the greats is a chance to show you, the authors, how author voice works and how to present your author's voice. Because ultimately, remember, it's the choices we make that allow us to distinct ourselves from one another. There'll be plenty more singing, I assure you. With that said, though, when it comes to your choices and how to distinctly present yourself as an author, right? Because how do I show my author's voice? What is the author's voice? It's everything from the words you choose to the how you use your prose to how you articulate yourself through chapters. It's the themes you talk about. It's the immersion that you choose to jump on, right? So what this series does, it allows me to take a known or a known author, and then taking their works, and then I basically put it in my voice, and I show you the differences. I show you what I'm trying to do, why I'm trying to do it, etc., etc. So how does this help you? Well, you as an author, you can look at what I'm doing, you can look at what has been presented, and then you say to yourself, how would I rewrite these passages through my voice? And I'm going to talk through why I'm choosing certain things as I do and everything. My chair is feeling better now. I had to lift it. And today we are actually going to be playing with what we call the Hunger Games. All right. So this is just a small little piece of work. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It may or may not have a few movies attached to it. As always, though, if you have questions about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, specifically if you have questions about your author's voice, maybe you could tell us what your author voice is, whatever the case, or what you think it is, in the comments below or the comment section while we're doing the live. But more importantly, if you end up having questions that have nothing to do with what we're talking about, feel free to ask them. I have no problem stopping what we're doing to talk about it. It will not distract me. I will be able to jump back in. ADHD. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, cats. Gatos. Look at the gatos. All right. Gatos Italiano. Per favore. Per favore. All right. What's going on? Anyway. All right. Wait a minute or two more for a couple more people to jump in, and then we'll get into it. But I could go over basically what I'm going to be doing today. Oh, my neck. I feel so old. My birthday is coming up though soon, so it'll officially be even older. I'm almost 50, but at the same time, like Jesus. All right, let's do it. We have 5 people. Let's get into rewriting the greats. And again, for anyone who's jumping in, I'm not doing this to be like, look at me, I can write. Woo! It's to showcase the different styles in voice. What makes an author's voice? I'm going to take what Suzanne Collins has written with the Hunger Games. I'm only going to probably do the first 2 passages. I'm not going to do the whole first page thing. And I'm going to walk through why I'm choosing what I'm choosing when I am writing what I am writing. This is to give you insight into your own author's voice and how to analyze what it is you're trying to say and do with your style. Everybody is different. Writing, like art, because it is subjective. So whatever you feel comfortable doing, the things you want to say, the stories you want to talk about, the themes you want to talk about, how you want to present stuff, that's all about your voice. So keep that in mind. I would stick it in past tense straight off the bat. Yeah, well, look, I assure you, you don't have to hide. Listen, there's nothing inherently wrong with any tense that you choose. Again, it comes down to your author's voice and what you're looking to do when it comes to tenses in that sense. And that's a really great starting point. Thank you, Flowers, for bringing that up. This is in present tense. So when you're reading Hunger Games, Susan Collins wrote this, which is a choice in first person present tense. Now I can, as an example, write this in third person past tense if I want. But I'm gonna set some parameters, but I'm still gonna write it in my voice because the tenses don't really dictate my voice per se. However, like Flowers, I am 100% comfortable in past tense. I think I definitely enjoy past tense a little bit more. And what I'm happy reading. Oh yeah. That's the thing. Like past tense feels for me, and I'm sure Flowers is definitely articulating that, is that it feels comfortable reading past tense. When I woke up feels uncomfortable for me. When I woke up, the other side. By the way, just as an aside, if I may do one of these asides, what are one of the rules they tell you? Don't start your novel off with waking up. It can't be just a normal everyday. It's a cliche. It's a trope. Don't do it. Well, Susan Collins did it. And Susan Collins is not the outlier. Lots of people choose to do it. And then, I'm just saying, if you write strong, truthful characters and place them in strong, truthful situations, and they have to make strong, truthful choices, it doesn't matter if they wake up in a dream. If this started off as a dream and they're like, oh, look, I'm fighting dragons. And they wake up, it's like, oh, I'm in Connecticut. As long as what you're writing flows through the narrative logical movement, as long as the characters are real and truthful, and it's all and tell me in the comics if I'm wrong. When you're reading a book, what keeps you there? Is it the fact that the sky is blue? Or is it the fact that the character is feeling something and dealing with something and overcoming things? And when you read through them, making choices and how they work through things, is that what pulls you through the book? Or are you like, well, I just, they woke up in a dream, so I'm who dreams? Who lays in bed? I can't connect with that, right? That doesn't pull you out. What pulls you out is if you're reading it and you're like, these characters are boring. They're not doing anything. It just feels like things are happening, but nothing is happening, right? And again, correct me if I'm wrong in the comics. All right, let's get into it. Oh, we got some. What we got? The chapter I've started today starts with a dream, and the MC wakes today. Okay, there you go, right? Yep, normal everyday stuff. And that's the thing. Again, it's a choice. As long as the story is compelling, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. The rules are so ridiculous sometimes. What's the other thing they say? She definitely does it in this. If I he hates me, right? That's telling. Oh, you can't, don't do that. My mother got rid of the vitamin. Well, we'll get into it. I'll point it out while we're working on it. There are every novel that's ever been successful has a lot of stuff in it where people are always saying, don't do those things. And this channel doesn't say don't do things. It says understand the things that you're going to do so you can break the rules, right? It's sort of like show, don't tell. I don't believe in show, don't tell. I believe in show, sometimes tell, because you need context. All right, let's first read and then we'll rework it. When I wake up, the other side of the bed is cold. My fingers stretch out, seeking Prim's warmth, but finding only the rough canvas cover of the mattress. She must have had bad dreams and climbed in with our mother. Of course she did. This is the day of the reaping. First of all, the good news is we are technically starting on something important, which is the reaping. It makes us also create a question. So in the first paragraph, we have a question for the reader to be like, what the hell is a reaping? Now, obviously, everybody knows what a reaping is. But we introduce a character that is not the main character right now. And we also place the character in a situation where they are doing something. They are physically doing, right? Start off with action. Well, this is action. They are The waking up is not the action. The waking up is searching and processing their situation, right? And of course, this to me though is telling. She must have had bad dreams and climbed, right? But it is processing through because it's first person, so that's okay. So what are we trying to? I want to. That's the other thing about this. I try to keep to the plot of whatever the narrative is, but then I allow it to the story to unfold through the characters based on my voice and how I'm going to approach it slightly different in that sense. So the story is going to be different. That's the other thing. Like, oh, someone's going to steal my book. Someone's going to steal my idea. There are only 7 stories. Well, technically 7 narratives, right? There's the monster, there's the hero's journey, there's, whatever the kid, right? So the story is you. The story unfolds through your presentation. The story is about your voice, how you move the characters around, what's important to you, all these wonderful, wonderful things. Hey, the Hunger Games is perfection. Actually, the Patriot's Tale is perfection, and so is the author. I'm not going to say who it is, Nicole. You see what I did there? Some happy shout out to Nicole. All right. So, by the way, subscribe to her channel. Excellent stuff. All right. Let's do this. I wake up. Now, see, the way I would approach is I like to breathe in moments. I like to filter stuff through behavior and movements. This to me is when I wake up. When I wake up, I put on my makeup. Okay, it just reminded me of a song. All right, so let's do it. The other side of the bed is cold. So to me, even if it's in first person, the cool sheets of my bed, and chill, forcing me to wake. Forcing me to wake. All right. As I stretched my fingers across the bed, searching. Now I'm gonna adjust things. Searching for my sister. All right. So again, remember everything. You have to start off with something, and then you kind of play with it, right? The Q whip. I believe it's called Cool Whip. Yeah, that's what I said, Brian. No, well, go ahead and say cool, and say whip. Now say cool whip. Cool whip. Okay. The cool sheets in my bed. Or against my fingers. Like, yeah. Chill. The chill of my sheets fought against my fingers. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to also, obviously I wouldn't do this when I'm writing because remember, first draft, second draft, third draft, fourth draft. But I'm working to refine things in real time right now. But so I wrote out a whole beat. This is a whole long sentence, but now I'm condensing and concise, creating concise. So I'm adding. So the chill. So I'm instead of cold, let's just do one thing. So the chill of my sheets fought against my fingers, searching for my sister. So there you go. I slid it right there. Now we could get even more into chilled seats. Chilled. This is the thing. Like, do I want to do past tense and present tense? Chill sheets. Bites. Oh, chill sheets. Oh, tingle against my fingers, searching for my younger sister. All right, so okay, the rough canvas The rough canvas of my mattress, normally warmed in our cuddled nights, lacked. Kinder morning wakes. Morning wakes. So what am I doing here? I'm giving the character a little bit more movement and some internal thoughts. I'm going to adjust some stuff here, right? But right off the bat, so finding only to come. The rough canvas, normally warmed in our cuddled nights, lacked my kinder morning wakes. All right. So instead of it being about a little bit of exposition for Prim, like Prim, she must have had dreams that were bad and she climbed it. So instead of doing that, I like to keep it focused on the characters and their movement and then slowly build on exposition. So the logical narrative movement is chill sheets tingle against my fingers. Why? Well, because it is the cause and effect of me searching for my younger sister. All right. So I've already, right? I could even go searching for a Prim, my younger, but that isn't how somebody would think. So I try to keep it in, whatever. Searching for my younger sister. That cause and effect, or the logical narrative movement to that is, now what about the sheets can I describe, right? Because I could either choose to describe the chilled sheets, which I'm going to. I could describe the fingers, because that was brought up. Or I could talk about the emptiness of the young sister. And as we do, I bring up the young sister through an emotional truth, which is how the morning usually feels when the sister is in the bed, which it's a kinder morning when she's there, right? So I go directly to the logical narrative movement of rough sheets. So the rough sheet, the rough canvas, or I could even say the rough. I don't know if you could hear the cat. The cat woke up. The rough canvas cover of the mat and the rough canvas hold loose over the mattress. The rough canvas pulls. I think it's pulls loose. I guess that would be the present tense. The rough canvas pulls loose over the mattress. And where normal warmth, and where normal warmth in our wait, the rough canvas. Oh, that's why I did that. Rough canvas, normal. Normal in the warmth of our cuddled nights. Lacked my kinder morning mix. All right, so there we go, right? Okay. So she must have had something I needed more today. It's something I needed more today than any other day. This is the day of the reaping. Okay, something like that. All right, so I'm going to adjust and clean up in a second. So chill sheets tingle against my fingers. As I search, I could just do this. Search for my younger sister, the rough canvas. Warmed. Warmed. And cuddled nights. I think that makes more sense. Warmed in my rough canvas. Normally warmed in cuddled nights. Lacked my kinder morning wake. Lacked my I don't know. I have to work that out. This is a first draft. Something I need more today than any other day, for this is the day of the reaping. Right? Oh no, the reaping. Okay. Let's get to the cat. All right. I popped myself up on one elbow. There's enough light. Oh, by the way, the reason I took out the sister stuff, like the deep dive into the sister, is because she's going to talk about a sister here. Right? Because Prim, she curled up, right? This is where I feel would make the most logical sense to. And by the way, no one is right or wrong. This is just a style technique. This is just about adding your voice to what you write. So don't think my choices, like in my head, I'm like, well, this would be the proper way to do it. Because that's not what I'm thinking. I'm trying to figure out how I want to put it in my voice. You know? Or how I would approach it. And like I said, Prim's warmth, but finding only rough cover. The rough canvas, normally warmth and cuddled nights, lacked the kind of morning wakes. Something I hoped for. I hope for more than any other day. But this is the day of the reaping. Okay. All right. Okay. I pop myself up on one elbow. Boop. Okay. There's enough light in the bedroom to see them. My little sister. Okay. So there's a couple things right off the bat. This is the other thing. I also try to make sentences do a little bit more than like one thing at a time. Right. For example, she wrote, when I wake, the other side of the bed is cold, period. My fingers stretched out, seeking Pim's warmth. So what I did was chilled sheets tingle against my fingers as I search for my younger sister. So I combined basically this much. So I combined, was it 21? I think this is going to be 18, right? Oh, 13. So I combined those three beats into one movement, right? Whatever the case. So I try to do that. And with this, there's enough light in the bedroom to see them. In my head, I want to acknowledge the cat. I think the cat is here. I was like, cocoon about his cheeks and sleep. Mother's still burning. Where's the cat? I think the cat's later down. There's like a cat that's like, like the cat's hair. Oh, there it is. The cat's ugly is the world's ugliest cat. Mashed in nose, half of one ear, missing eyes, the color of rotten squish. All right. My little sister Prim. Okay. Hi, son. I know. Okay. I lean the elbow. The room. The room glue. Son of a hooer. I'm trying. Again, I prefer past tense, so I have to rework the way I naturally kind of just flow into the sentences here, which is good because this is an exercise, right? Like you want to definitely challenge yourself and you want to try to get yourself thinking differently. I know, like something I hope. All right, see, I think hoped for might work there because it's an internal processing. What this is the day. I don't know. That's something I'd have to do in an edit, you know, like if I actually go through and edit. I lean up on my elbow. The room, a mix of light. And old orange cat hairs. All right. It is a mind flip. Yeah, totally. Because to me, like the natural thing would be I leaned up on my elbow, you know, the room. Okay, the room, a mix of morning light and old orange cat hairs. They shifted and moved over the stillness. Oh, God. They shift. They shift and move over the stillness of my sister. Snuggled. Snuggle! Jesus, the shift and move over the stillness of my sister. Tight snuggle. In a tight cocoon. My mother's form or body. All right. It's a mind flip, yeah. I mean mind flip shift. All right. Let's see what we got here. I lean up on my elbow. Boop, boop. The room, a mix of morning light and old orange cat hairs. They shift and move over the stillness of my. Okay. They shift. They shift. Okay. So, sorry about that. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? I am seeding the fact that there is a cat there without mentioning the cat directly yet. And I'm allowing the light element, right? There's enough room to see them, right? I'm allowing. It's also inferred that if there's morning light, then we can see something, right? But I'm allowing this to be one smooth movement instead of and again, there is nothing wrong with the choices. Obviously, she's a successful author, right? But my style of writing is I like my sentences to do a little bit more than one thing. Even though the rule is every sentence must do one or more of these three elements, which is plot, world build, or character. I like to allow my sentences to do a little bit more heavy lifting. So this is one thing. I prop myself up on my elbow. Again, nothing wrong with that. There's enough light in the bedroom to see them. Okay. And then my little sister Prim curled up on her side, cocoon in my mother's body, their cheeks pressed together. All right. They is referring to the cat hairs, right? So they shift and move over the stillness of my sister in a tight cocoon. Near my mother. Their cheeks. Oh, you can. Yeah, because instead of ing, it becomes ed. Right? Their cheeks press. Soft. Love. Oh, wait, I have to figure out what the next beat is. In sleep, my mother looks young, still worn, but not so beaten down. All right, their cheeks pressed and soft love. Even in my mother's. Oh, even at my mother's age, she looks younger. Worn. Not so beaten down. Right. All right. Because we got to keep some things present. Things pressed in a soft love. And even at my mother's age, she looks younger, worn, but not so beaten down. My mother was very beautiful once too, or so they tell me. All right. This is another thing. Okay, so for me, I'm not really a fan of internal monologuing, though processing is different. So something I hope for more than any other day, for this is the day of the reaping. That is processing what she just experienced, which is that she's waking up to an empty bed, and normally it would be warm and she'd be cuddling, with her younger sister. And she woke up and she's like, this is something I needed more than anything, but it's not her stating it. It's her processing it. Something I hope for more than any other day, for this is the day of the reaping. If this was internal thought, if I was writing an internal thought, it goes, it might be more direct. I hoped to have woken up to her warmth, because today is the day unlike any other, for it is the day of the reaping, right? That would be a little bit more internally thought-ish. I personally have no issue with internal thought when I'm reading it on other people, but in my voice, I don't really like internal thought. Internal processing, that's a whole other story. So their cheeks press in a soft love, and even at my mother's age, she looks young, worn, but not so beaten down. She is processing what she is looking at. This right here is an aside. My mother was very beautiful once too, or so they tell me. That is an internal aside, right? I could probably make it a process, right? But not so beaten down. A beauty settled beneath uh whatever the what baby what to oh this is in the sleep Prim's face is as fresh as a raindrop, as lovely as which she was named. Okay, let's kind of add some of this stuff. Wait, their cheeks press and a soft love, and even at my mother's age she looks younger, worn, but not so beat down. Against my sister's primrose color, my mother's beauty settled beneath. Actually, you know what? I have something. I'm gonna try some. Their cheeks press in a soft love. My sister's primrose color. Oh wait, face is as fresh as a raindrop. Oh, my sister's face fresh. I'll put that in there. Fresh as a raindrop. As the primrose color. Oh, okay. As the primrose color. Whatever. Give me a second. The cat is just I don't know if you can hear the cat, but the cat's just sitting here going meow, 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 meow. And then my anxiety is like, oh. Okay. All right, Gatto. Come on. Bravo, ragazzi. All right. Eileen, okay. Okay. So in here, sleep my mother's, she still looks worn. So what I'm gonna try to do is try to connect the two look things like that. Okay. Uno momento, por favor. Their cheeks press in a soft love. My sister's okay. Oh, by the way, she writes as. That remember I told you I was going to tell you those. So what's another rule they tell you? They go, hey, you shouldn't use a word a lot of times in a row. You should break it up and add some consistency with different letters and stuff. But as you can see, she's using as 100 times, and not 100. I'm hyperbole. All right. Hey, the other night I thought I would do my main character as one, but she lives 9 lives instead of her having 9 sisters. Also, I thought this would be my main plot twist. Ooh, that's interesting. The other night I thought I would do my main character as one. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, she has. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That's interesting. And by the way, hello. Morticia usually walks across the laptop and in a flicker of toe beans changes the screen resolution. All right. Eilena, okay. I see this to me. This is a nice little thing. Let's see if I can fit it. 1 second. Dude, come here, baby. Come here, baby. You want patents? Come here. Look, I'm here, baby. I'm here, baby. I'm right here, baby. Who's your good girl? Who's your good girl, huh? You a good girl? Yeah, you a good girl. I'm sorry. Please excuse the pause. Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? You want to come over here? Come on. You want to lay in your bed? You want to lay in your bed? I'm sorry. She's the children get the most love. I only get it for a little bit. This will be forever. So, I could always come back. You should do, baby. Okay. We're an animal house here. The pause. The pause. Leaving now? Toe beans. Okay. What's this? What's going on? She's part elfling fae, but fully kinson with 9 tails. And I got this inspiration from a YouTube channel called Eternal Love of Dream, aka 3 words. 3 lives and 10 miles of peach blossoms. That's pretty cool. That's interesting. Also 9 tails. That's cool. That's a nice little world thing. All right. Let's see. Their cheeks press. Press in a soft love. And my sister. My sister fresh as a raindrop. My sister's prim rose color, fresh as a raindrop. My sister's. I like this actually. Fresh as a raindrop. And her prim rose. Her lovely. Let's put that in. Lovely primrose. But we'll spell it correctly. Lovely primrose. Matched. My mother's beauty settled beneath. Beauty. Even at her age. Even at her age. Looks young. Worn. Not so beaten. Okay. All right. Let's see how I did. I lean up on my elbow, the room a mix of morning light and old orange cat hairs. They shift and move over the stillness of my sister in a tight cocoon near my mother's body. Their cheeks press in a soft love, and my sister fresh as a raindrop, and her warm primrose match my mother's beauty. Even at her age, my mother looks younger, worn, but not so beaten. All right. That allows me to feel like it's processing and not necessarily an aside. All right. Whew, what do we got? 39 minutes? Oh, we got some time. So let me read it from the beginning. Chilled sheets tingle against my fingers as I stretch for my younger sister. The rough canvas, normally warmed and cuddled nights. Normally warm and cuddled nights. Lack the kind of morning wakes. Let's do this instead. A kind morning wake. All right, there we go. Okay. Chill sheets tingle against my fingers as I search for my younger sister. The rough canvas, normally warm in cuddled nights, lack a kind morning wake. Something I hoped for more than any other day, for this is the day of the reaping. I lean up on my elbow, the room a mixture, a mixture? I like mix better. I lean up on my elbow, the room a mix of morning light and old orange cat hairs. They shift and move over the stillness of my sister in a tight cocoon near my mother's body. Their cheeks press in a soft love, and my sister, fresh as a raindrop, and a warm primrose match my mother's beauty. Even at her age, my mother looks younger, worn, but not so beaten. All right. To me, that feels a little more like my voice than when I wake up. The other side of the bed is cold. My fingers stretch out, seeking Prim's warmth, but finding only the rough canvas over the mattress. She must have had bad dreams and climbed in with her mother. Of course she did. This is the day of the reaping. I propped myself on one elbow. There's enough light in the bedroom to see them. My little sister Prim curled up on her side, cocooned in my mother's body. Their cheeks pressed together in sleep. My mother looks younger, still warm, but not so beaten down. Prim's face is as fresh as a raindrop, as lovely as the prison. All right, so what am I doing? What, right? In this version, everything's sort of being presented and settled into a beat, right? Okay. So my little sister, what is she doing? My sister, she's curled up in a cocoon next to my mother's body. All right. So now let's describe my mother. My mother looks young, still warm, but beaten down. Great. Now let's describe Prim. Prim's face is a raindrop, as lovely as it, right? And then an aside. What I did was I created the atmosphere, right? The mood. And then I combined the mother and sister and allowed the detail, the visual detail of them to flow into one movement. And then the processing of what I am looking at now has the logical narrative movement of I just mentioned my mother's beauty was the last thing I said. So I can choose to kind of give a little bit more information on that instead of it being an aside. What's up, baby? You know you could come up here. You want to come up? You want to come up? Come here. Come on. I don't know what to tell you. It's working. Anyway. All right. What are we? 42 minutes. All right. Jesus. All right. Let's work on this. Now, here's another thing. When it comes to author voice, the length of your passages, your prose, would also reflect a strong part of your author's voice, right? Because remember, your author voice is the presentation, your choices, things like that, right? So, with that said, to me, this is a long passage. This pro is very long. I think we had a long pro in Game of Thrones where like he was explaining like, the Night Watch and the history of whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna take that out because in my mind, I would rather see details throughout the story. And the reason I do that because right now this is what is this 114, so this should be 132, 128. All right. So the reason I write like this with the logical narrative movement is because, again, I come from screenwriting and everything, and you want to sort of like have everything just kind of move you along. So with logical narrative movement, where each sentence and each pro is connected to the movement of the previous information, it allows it to be a faster read, which has nothing to do with your pace. Pace is the speed at which information is presented to the reader. When I say a fast read, I mean that it is the structure of the sentences are designed to move you through the read. I also like a little bit more lyrical tone to it. I haven't really added a lot of it, but normally warm and cuddled nights lack a kind morning awake. That is a lyrical line, right? which also is influenced by my musical background, right? I like to create a forward motion. I think I've mentioned this before in the first and only the first epic fantasy book in the series that I'm working on, the Saga series. The first book has the longest prologue. The rest of them have like pretty traditional prologues, but the first one sets the tone of the saga, and it does a lot of heavy lifting. But it is like 8,000 words, right? And everybody who saw it before they read it were like, "This is long, bro." But then they read it, and a lot of the feedback was, "I kind of wish it was longer. I wish there was more." Or this, I couldn't stop reading it, or it was really fast. And the reason is because when the way I like to write is each sentence fuels the next sentence. So it doesn't feel like statements. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I prop myself up on one elbow is a statement. Right? This is a physical movement, but it doesn't necessarily, right? There's enough light in the room to see them both. That's just a statement. My little sister Prim curled up on her side, cocooned in my mother's body, their cheeks. This to me has a little bit more movement because it's not just a statement, right? If it said my little sister Prim curled on my mother, that would be like a statement, right? But it's giving some insight to it. In sleep, my mother looks younger, still worn but not beaten down. That touches on a statement. But again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a choice. It's an author's voice choice. And people obviously love her writing, right? They love the straightforwardness and everything like that. So that brings us to this. I like to break passages up so you can take it in, right? And and then you could just move on to the next one if you have to, right? So it allows moments to have a little bit more impact. But as we can see, sitting in Prim's knees, guarding her. This is a great word, by the way. See, a lot of times too, like the word choices are so important because guarding adds such context to the cat's position. Is the world's ugliest. But this is in my mind, this is a statement of presentation. Sitting at Prim's knee, guarding her, is the world's ugliest. Mashton nose, half of one ear missing, eyes the color of rotten squash. All right, so this is. I'm not a fan of exposition. I'm a fan of character exposition. I'm a fan of seeding. What's about to happen is pure exposition. This is description. I'd say for description's sake. But Prim named him Buttercup, insisting that his muddy yellow coat matched the bright flower. He hates it, or at least distrusts me. Oh, he hates me. He hates me, or at least distrusts me. Even though it was years ago, I think he still remembers how I tried to drown him in a bucket when Prim brought him home. Okay. Scrawny kitten, belly swollen with worms, crawling with fleas. Yeah, okay. All right. The last thing but this is important in the sense of like they're poor because the cat is scrawny. It's swollen belly, gas, and worms, and it's crawling with fleas. They don't have the money. So this is informative to the bigger picture. So this is good. This is really good stuff. But to me, this is all exposition. Does it add to the story? Absolutely. For me, though, I might see that through it. I might allow that stuff to kind of come out slowly or more slow or in piecemeal. Anyway, the last thing I needed was another mouth to feed. But Prim begged so hard, cried even. I had to let him stay. It turned out okay. My mother got rid of the vermin, and he's a born mouser. He even catches the occasional rat. Sometimes when I clean a kill, I feed Buttercup the entrails. He has stopped hissing at me. Okay. This is the closest we ever will come to love. I don't think that's in the movie per se. I don't think she narrates that in the movie, does she? I forget. If anyone remembers, does she narrate this chunk of information in the movie? Does she talk about that? I could have swore it started off with. Doesn't it start off with her waking up and then she's like hunting or something? I forget. What is this? I just found my story genre. My main character, Princess Nutira, that's a cute name, is going to fall in love with her enemy, Prince King Verlithor. Verlithor? Verlithor. I think I got that. Verlithor. Verlithor. If we're doing syllables, it's Ver, because AE is like air. Verlithor, who had cursed her before she was born. Nice. It's going to be an enemies to lovers genre. I think, and again, I could be 100% wrong, but enemies to lovers, I think, is the trope. The genre depends on the other elements. Like it might be a romance or a fantasy. I could be wrong. I think enemies to lovers is the, but I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could call it whatever you want. But that's really cool. I like. Look at that. Yum, yum. Can't go wrong with lovers. All right. Okay, so let's have some real talk here. A lot of this feels unimportant to me right now. It also, if you notice, the narrative, the logical narrative movement, it for me jumps really far. Trope, yes. Yeah, I thought so. Right? It's like a trope, yeah. His name is actually Ravalithor. My characters are based on Egyptian mythology. Oh, it's also a fantasy romance story. So that would be the genre, fantasy romance. Fantasy romance. Do 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 do. All right. And thank you for that input. But this is going from my mother was beautiful once too, so they tell me. And then it's like, hey, by the way, there's this ugly cat, and the ugly cat, we didn't really want the cat. The cat doesn't like me. Like, I get why she put this here. This is important to set the tone that they're poor, and that they're poor. They're poor. I get that. And this moment, it's like funny, right? Like it's like entrails, no hissing. This is the closest we will ever come to love. Like that's a good like little right? I get it. I'm in it. I'm on it. I get what you're throwing. I know what you're throwing. Not beaten. Not beaten. Do we need the cat? All this stuff, though. Let's see what I can get from this moment. Let's see what happens. Sitting at Prim's knees, guarding her, is the world's ugliest cat. Mm. All right. Ruffle. Rotten. Squash. A ruffle of rotten squash. Orange. Tanged over in his orange coat. Buttercup guarded my sister guarded Prim, keeping my younger sister from me. I'll fix that. A ruffle of rotten squash. A ruffle of orange fur. let's do this. A ruffle of orange fur pulled to a mashed in nose. Half an ear, half of one ear. Eyes of color. And eyes of rotting. Oh, I see. Rotting squash. Okay. I'll make sense of this. Uno momento, por favor. A ruffle of orange fur pulled to a mashed in nose, shifted. My sister's feet. Buttercup guarded prim with an unsettling snore that matched his half of one ear, and eyes the color of rotting squash. All right. A ruffle of orange fur pulled to a mash and shifted near my sister's feet. Buttercup guarded prim with an unsettling snore that matched his half of one ear and eyes the color of rotten sponge. All right, what do we got? Enjoying the series so far. Interesting on seeing what you come up with when you get to older authors like Tolkien and Robert E. Howard and the like. I assure you, we will see that. I'm starting with more contemporary. Well, to be fair, Suzanne Collins and R.R. Martin are not really as contemporary as you would think, but Brandon Sanderson's was. But I will be getting to Tolkien stuff and other. And by the way, as much as I love Tolkien, because I grew up on it, he does fall into the exposition heavy stuff that might not be as desirable for someone like me with my author voice. But I'm really glad you're enjoying this, because the whole point is not to be like, look, I can write. The whole point is to be like, the same plot beats, the same information can be portrayed however you as the author deem worthy through your voice as an author. And I basically just took all this, insisting that it is muddy yellow coat match. So a ruffle of muddy, a ruffle of a muddy orange. No, we're gonna go back to the other thing. Boop. A ruffle of orange fur pulled and then shipped in it. Okay. All right. Insisting that he is muddy. Oh my god. All right. This is where I get a little like, do I need this? I can start getting into a little bit more, but I would create a new I would do a new passage for this next punch. I would just go right. He hates me, or at least distrusts me. That yellow coat, yellow muddy coat of a cat clawing at me. Try. All right. Anyway, okay. I'm trying to make it have a little bit more personality. Hey, Emma, what's up? Don't panic. Listen, now we don't have to panic. And also my force knows you're here now. By the way, if you're wondering, Emma, what we're doing today is we're rewriting the greats. And it's not a look at me, but it's showing us how our author voice is different from everything and how we could approach plot, which we're trying to figure out the essence of the plot within the passage, and then rewriting the passages in our voice, which becomes the story, which unfolds through the characters' experiences and choices. But we're also making choices as an author. I'm trying to get this exposition in there, which I don't really like exposition, but he hates me, or at least distrusts me. That yellow muddy coat of a cat clawing at me. I tried drowning him once. Only once. All right, so I'm adding a couple. Okay. All right. Ooh, let's add some more. A ruffle of orange. Orange. I could add this ruffle. Buttercup. A scrawny kitten. Got it. I don't like that. I don't like that. Okay, squash. Oh, I know what I could do. I gotta. His scrawny, overblown. Oh, infested, flea infested. His scrawny, flea infested coat. A belly swollen. Okay, all right. I'm gonna rework this. I'm reworking it. Hold on. All right. If I stare long enough, comes alive. I can see he's still breathing. Scrawny, flea infested coat. Lifting and falling. Yeah. All right. That swollen belly filled with worms. Hates me, or at least distracts me. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm trying to get in this exposition where it feels like it's flowing through narrative. So the way I'm doing it, instead of it just sort of being a statement that the cat exists there, I'm trying to allow the camera, because remember, I try to write cinematically, so I think of scenes and camera placements. So if we're looking at the mother here, it looks younger, worn, but not so beaten. Then movement would pull the camera or move the eye, but without saying she looked at, right? A ruffle of orange fur pulled to a mashed-in nose shifted near my sister's feet. Buttercup guarded Prim with an unsettling snore that matches half of one ear and eyes the color of rotting squash. So this becomes processing to the what she's noticing is that Buttercup's guarding Prim. We mentioned the sister. Okay. So now I don't think I mentioned Prim in the beginning. So now the sister is identified as Prim and Buttercup is identified as the cat, and it's natural. It doesn't feel, and again, there's nothing wrong with how Suzanne Collins wrote her stuff. This is how I'm processing it and how I like to work information through the story. All right. But this allows me to have movement that leads to the unfolding of information naturally. And then because we are talking about the cat, I want to give more movement and show that the cat is more than just a defined piece of mess. Oh wait, beep beep. Okay. That's swollen belly filled with worms. Hates me. Oh, that living swollen belly filled. Oh, this should actually be belly, swollen belly, worm filled kitten. Because I don't think I wrote kitten hates me. All right. Did I write kitten? I don't think I wrote kitten. Nope, I didn't. All right. So I got kitten in there. I was trying to get kitten in there. All right. So because she is looking at the cat guarding her sister, now she's going to move. There's going to be movement. She is physically doing something. And she's making a statement. It's like, if I stare long enough, which is saying she is staring long enough, but now it becomes commentary because it's first person. So we could go sort of into the internal narrative of it, but I still want that to move. I don't want it to feel like thought or exposition or dialogue. So with here, it's talking about how it distressed him and then like years ago. So what I did was I broke it up so it has two separate beats, and she is ultimately like, if I stare long enough, he comes alive, because like the cat is old and dirty and yucky. And what is it that allows her to know he's alive? I can see he's still breathing. His scrawny flea-infested coat lifting and falling. There's movement to that, but she is the one who's processing the cat. And now she's having commentary on it. That living, swollen belly, worm-filled... That should actually be... worm-filled kitten hates me, or at least distrusts me, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, scrawny flea-infested... Flea... I think that would be like a flea-infested coat. Lifting... I should say rise. Lifting and falling. A slow struggle. Okay. More to indicate, show that the cat is... All right. That living, swollen belly, worm-filled kitten hates me, or at least distrusts me. Yeah. And then we could say the yellow muddy coat. It's a yellow muddy coat of a cat. That's clawed. That has clawed at me. That actually, I could just write that claws at me, all because I tried drowning him once. Only once. All right, so now we're adding a little bit of humor. Oh, hello, everybody. If you're wondering what's going on, we're rewriting the greats. We're not rewriting it to be like, look at me, I could write, look. It's to show author voice and how you as an author can take the plot points of something that's already written and then place your author's voice in it through how you establish the story or the unfolding of character choices and perspectives. I am trying to write it in the first person present tense. I am usually someone who writes in third person limited past tense, but it is always fun as an exercise to work. So far, we are on this huge chunk of stuff, and we're talking about how to take the exposition and put it into movement, because I like movement, logical narrative movement, and through characters processing or experiences, than just straightforward exposition. Because to me, the way she is having this moment with the cat is telling of who she is. It is a character moment. It's character development. And now I can make another passage, because now we could explain why the cat only exists, which is the last thing I needed Oh, by the way, never use the word was. And it's another example that was can be used periodically and strategically. The rules that I hear out there, don't allow them to discourage you. Rules exist to learn, but you're allowed to break them or use them as you see fit. But remember, every great story is through the truth of characters. So as long as the characters are making truthful choices and they're experiencing things, that's what we love about books when we read it, right? We don't love a book because the description was perfect. We love it because we are experiencing characters living lives, dealing with things, Was another mouth to feed. But prim baked. So hard. Cried. I'm just using this sentence because this is a good sentence. Cried even. I had to let him stay. All right. My mother got rid of the vermin, and he's a born mouser. He even catches the occasional rat. What? My mother got rid of the vermin, and he's a born mouser. Okay. It worked out. He's a born mouser. Occasional rat. All right. Occasional rat. I feed Buttercup the entrails. When I clean a yeah, okay, because this is important because this is telling that she's a hunter, right? So when I can, after I clean a kill, I feed Buttercup the entrails. Then it's the closest we will ever come to love. Entrails in a happy worm-filled belly. All right. Okay, that's a callback. All right. Okay, my neck. Okay, why did I do that? Well, I'm not a fan of like 2-sentence passages of prose. When I can, I unless it's impactful. Like I may or may not have passages where if like a character dies, in honor of my father, I just write dead and then I move on to the next. Because when I used to watch movies with my father, he passed away, so I try to keep him alive through any way I can. But when we used to watch something, every time somebody died, no matter how many people died, like because we'd watch war movies and you just see like people getting shot, my father would be like dead. But it would be the funniest when it would just be like really quiet for a while and nothing too crazy happens. And then one person gets like stabbed or shot or whatever. And then he'll just sit there and be like, dead. So now I do it very often, but as an homage to my father, when it is a important death, usually write dead as a one-word pro, and then I move on. So, because got to do what we do for the people we love, right? What is it? An hour? All right. I'm over an hour. I'm not gonna do this passage, but let's take a look. See, all right. Oh, that's pretty tight. Let's see how we did here. 274 words. 282 words. So I shrunk it down, but it's still about the same length. My pace is definitely going to be different because I broke this into 3 passages, 3 prose, and I allow each pro to have a specific thing. This is a physical movement of notice. This is giving description and life to the cat, and then this is the telling part, the subtext, but it is through showing, right? And the narrative processing, and she's like talking to herself about the last thing I needed was right. The last thing I need. I should write. But anyway, well, no, it's past tense because she's talking. Okay. Anyway, so let's read it. Let's see what it sounds like. Chill sheets tingled against my fingers as I searched for my younger sister. The rough canvas, normally warm in cuddled nights, lack a kind morning wake. Something I hoped for more than any other day, for this is the day of the reaping. I lean up on my elbow, the room a mix of morning light and old orange cat hairs. They shift and move over the stillness of my sister in a tight cocoon near my mother's body. Their cheeks press in a soft love, and my sister, fresh as a raindrop, and her warm primrose match my mother's beauty. Even at her age, my mother looks younger, worn, but not so beaten. A ruffle of orange fur pulled to a mashed-in nose, shifted near my sister's feet. Buttercup guarded Prim with an unsettling snore that matched his half of one ear and eyes the color of rotting squash. If I stare long enough, he comes alive. I can see he's still breathing, his scrawny, flea-infested coat lifting and falling with a slow struggle. That living, swollen belly, worm-filled kitten hates me, or at least distrusts me. It's a yellow, muddy coat of cat that claws at me, all because I tried drowning him once. Only once. The last thing I needed was another mouth to feed, but Prim begged so hard, cried even, I had to let him stay. It worked out. He's a born mouser, even catching the occasional rat. When I can, after I clean a kill, I feed Buttercup the entrails. No hissing then. It's the closest we will ever come to love. Entrails and happy worm-filled belly. All right. So there you go. That is my adjusted version of the beat versus this. And again, it's all subjective. Art is subjective, but ultimately, as you can see, our voices are very different. I like to move through characters' experiences. I like to see characters making choices. I like to keep a logical narrative movement. And I like my sentences feeling like they do a little bit more, like there's a little bit more lifting on sentences. Again, there's nothing wrong with these statements styles, which is when I wake up, the other side of the bed is cold, my fingers stretched out, seeking her warmth, finding only a rough cat, right? I also have a little bit more immersion. However, I probably would add slightly more immersion with like a second run through. I would probably condense things a little bit more, but this is basically a first draft. So does anyone have any questions about what I did, how author voice is working, what I'm talking about, if anything was confusing? Do you have questions about the differences in the approaches? Is there something about my style that you like that you know, is there something about Suzanne Collins style that you like? Let's if you want to start a nice discourse in the comments, feel free. If you have questions about writing, either pertaining to author voice and what we did, or anything about your own, the floor is yours. As always, the weekend, I try to give some time to everybody. If Emma is still in the audience, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your thoughts, your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who doesn't love thoughts? I'll give it a couple minutes. If we don't hear anything in 3 or 4 minutes, we'll call it a day. We'll call it a day. Everybody, remember, writing is a process. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, we got some. How many subplots is too many subplots? That's a great question. Thanks for participating. I don't know. All right, next question. No, just how many subplots are too many subplots? Honestly, when the subplots either A, muffle or take away from the main plot, or if the subplots are starting to become uninteresting. Every plot should have some value of movement, and every plot should, no matter how small it is, should have an arc. that at least concludes. So if a subplot is basically not fulfilling a full growth, and it doesn't have to be an extreme, like they don't have to go from like, wanting to murder orange cats to not wanting to murder orange cats. It could be as simple as like, they are changing their diet, right? That could be a subplot technically, right? It could be a small subplot. But it's still, if there's too much going on and that subplot is just sort of like something that exists, you might want to jump away from it. But to be honest, and you will see this through the Sunday videos as we develop the story, there are a lot of plots in a book, and you might not necessarily recognize that there are a plot. And this is how many plots can build up so quickly. As soon as two characters talk to one another, if they are going to talk to one another again, their relationship technically becomes a subplot because their relationship has to do something, right? It could still be flat. It could still be a flat arc, their relationship. They could start as friends and maintain a friendship, right? They can, but it is technically a subplot. And then when somebody else meets somebody, that relationship becomes, so the relationships do build up quickly, but then you have the internal and then you have the external, whatever the case may be. So it really comes down to, is every element being honored and given at least time to be heard or to allow to breathe? If it really gets overcrowded, you will know, because you'll be like, oh wow, I didn't give that subplot any time or any movement, or I didn't conclude that subplot. That's when you know you might be past it. However, if you want your book to be a little longer, you just have to go back and start adding those elements. And I hope that helps. Are there times when you shouldn't move about a scene as if you were a camera, or is it an inevitability? It's a choice. I like to write cinematically. So I like to create scenes that I might visually see in a camera. How I place the camera, is it a close-up? Is it a mid-shot? Is it a French double where, you can't really do a French double on the page, but is it a master shot? Is it an establishing shot? Whatever the case may be. I like to think about that. It is a choice, though. Not everyone writes with the camera in mind. So, but if you want to use the camera mindset, I would try to utilize every moment or every movement as like a camera shot. The only reason that it works is because even if you look at, like, if we go here, this chilled sheets tingle against my finger as I stretch for my young sister. What are you noticing? What's the first thing you're visualizing? It's probably, and I'm just assuming, her hand on sheets, which is a close-up of her hand, right? And then we describe that close-up. The rough canvas, normally warm and cuddled nights, lack a kind morning wake. So not only are we giving emotional purpose to the first line, but we're still in that camera shot. And then this is probably considered a deep close because we're going internally and making sense of why she would rather have the morning. And it's because something I hope for more than any other day, right? And then this, I lean up. What do you picture? The camera shot is her leaning up on her elbow, right? And then this shifts to a cut to us looking across the room, right? The room is a mixture of morning light and old orange cat hairs. So we should see light coming through the windows, which, by the way, if I was going to do a second draft, I might start adding more of those immersive elements. But additionally, the cat hairs, we're seeing that movement. And then what are they doing? Well, we see them shifting and move over the stillness of my sisters. So now the camera is on the sisters. So that's how but I don't really think about it like that when I'm writing it. It's just my brain, because I practice it so much. I do write in the framing element of a camera. So to answer your questions, are there times when you shouldn't move around about a scene as if you were a camera, or is it inevitable? It really depends if you're choosing to write cinematically. It's sort of like writing first person and then shifting to third person. It does get distracting. If you're writing in third person and you're using the camera shots, and then all of a sudden you're like deeply internal, Like that could be distracting, but you can still write internally, if that makes sense. It's just, I guess the short answer is you could do whatever you want. It's writing. It's a creative choice. But it's good to maintain consistency because that shows strong writing. So consistency in tense, consistency in style, consistency in tone, consistency in theme, consistent, right? So whatever it is you choose to do, you should have a maintenance of consistency. However, if you set up your first 3 chapters in a style where you do shift and move around, and it's sometimes very cinematic and camera, and other times it's very like narrative, that's okay because you're training your reader to be ready for those shifts. So you would the camera style similar to a genre. That is to say, if you all of a sudden stop doing it, it could be jarring. I don't know if I would say the camera style narrative is a genre, but I would say what's jarring is because the style and tone changed. I don't think a genre shift is too jarring. Like, for example, if you've ever seen Predator, Predator is not one genre. Predator starts out as like an action film. Then it becomes a monster flick. And then then it becomes like a horror movie. So it's action, then it's horror because they can't see the monster, they're just being hunted like animal. And then it's basically a monster flick / sci-fi. And it's not jarring because it moves through those elements, right? But also in the film, I know it's a film and not a book, but just in the film, they see the predator watching. They cut to that, right? And then he's like looking at the bug, and he's like, he's trying to mimic the voices. So they're seeding the fact that there is a monster. They're seeding the fact that there is a sci-fi element to it, but they're not really lingering on it. They're allowing the main narrative of Act 1 to be in action. Stick it around, when he throws the machete through the guy's stomach, whatever, but it slowly converges into something. So all I'm saying is if you train your audience, especially in the first couple of chapters, to the tone shifts and movement, then it's okay, right? Like I had a client that was writing a book where it was being told through the first person omniscient God narrative of a character that was basically immortal, talking about this small moment in time. But the actual story of those characters was told in third person. So my advice was not that you should take it out, but that you should distinguish the narrative, the narrator's voice in a specific form, meaning like maybe all their dialogue is italicized, or maybe their dialogue is a different font, whatever the case may be, because you have to train your reader to expect and get comfortable with the shifts in tone or theme or style, like all that. You can train your reader in the first couple of chapters. If you don't, then it'll be very jolting and jarring if like it just comes out of nowhere. Yeah, right. Like, plus that's an amazing movie. So yeah, you don't want to jar them in that sense, but you could train your reader to do any. Game of Thrones is another example. What does Game of Thrones do to help readers not get jarred from these shifts of POVs? Every chapter title is just a character's name: Bran, Caitlyn, Robb, Ned Stark, right? So he's training the reader to be comfortable with the POV shifts. So that's all you have to do is just make sure you train your reader to your specific style within the first couple of chapters. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Any other wonders? All right. By the way, as an aside, did anyone enjoy my interpretation of the Hunger Games scene? Or was it like, this guy's got a knot right? He is terrible. terrible. Ooh, I got a delivery. Ooh, Emma shared my post. Emma, you're the bestest. I love you, Emma. You're the bestest. Mm-hmm. Happening now. Maybe that's why I got a couple of boosts with this. The people watching. Thank you for that. You're the best. That's how the community really needs to be. Even if you don't share my stuff, you should share each other's stuff. It's really powerful to do. Not only are we hopefully inspiring and through behavior, be like, look, I do actually want to see you stuff and bring exposure to you. And sharing is caring. And I'm not saying to do that for me, but I'm just saying in general, like the community, like how we grow. This is not a Of course we did. Oh, thank you, Flowers. I really appreciate that you like my voice as an author. But truly, really, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But when it comes to the community, what I'm saying is that being an author can feel isolating, right? Because I mean, when I'm sitting at home, other than my cat going, I'm by myself, right? But in reality, the growth of the people around us and the growth, especially of independent authors, self-published authors, I've since the music industry, I have learned that self growth in the sense of like, I did my own music, I produced my own shows, I produced my own tours. Like I made more money as the producer of stuff. I produced my own shorts and films and whatever the case. I helped other people produce. So self-publishing is not a negative. It is a powerful tool to put the strength of your growth in your hands, your capable hands, and how hard or how much or whatever you do to allow that to prosper is going to be there. With that said, as a community, if I go back to even the band world, when we did shows, what did we do? We put shows on with our other friends, with bands that we became friends with. Why did that help? Because then when they put shows on, they helped us. Well, how does that relate to authors? Well, that's a great question. So if I say, if I build up Flowers and Flowers builds me up, and then we build up Marshall, that's three authors all sort of building on the audience of each other. But at the same time, as we develop and we start getting more influence, we start getting the appreciation or the acceptance or the trust, I should say, the trust with our audiences, it allows me to say that and honestly say, if I read your stuff and I go, this is my thought on this book, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's something that you should buy. My audience is going to trust in me, just like if Stephen King came out and said, I read author so-and-so and this was good, right? So that's how, on a small scale, that's just a small scale, that the community can help one another by building not only trust with their own audience, but by introducing their audiences to other authors and building their trust with that audience, right? The other thing is, for example, like I said, putting on shows. As my health develops, if it develops, for those who don't know, I deal with the restrictive lung disease and some other things, right? So I went from being very proactive in the industry, especially the entertainment industry with film and television, to being a little. COVID basically forced me to sort of slow down, but then I got sick. So, but I'm trying to get healthier. I'm going to doctors, and my goal is to get to the point where I could bring people together, especially in the States at first, and set up an author tour and get us to go to conventions together and right. That's a bigger scale approach to community building, but that still works with social media community building, and we're not alone together. And I think the author community can grow even more just by building one another up, just by supporting. Even if an author doesn't have a book out, it's like, I'm going to support you. Let me motivate you. Let me, send me your pages or whatever, like, have that kind of mentality. It's all about encouraging. And the other thing that's really difficult is sometimes, there are people in communities where it's like, your writing is not like my writing, so your writing sucks. And like that's not helping, you know. And we shouldn't look at each other's competition. That's so. In the music industry, I was fortunate to have some mentors, and those mentors always told me, "It's like, do not compete with other bands. You can't. No one is going to be Metallica. No one's going to be Megadeth. No one's going to be Slipknot. No one's going to be right." And the same thing with those bands. Even Metallica and Slipknot are not the same band, so they're not really competing with each other. They have their own distinction, And with authors, we're not competing. What we should be doing. Bill Murray actually said something. This is a really good quote. He says, "Comedians should be competing with one another to elevate the quality of the union, or if you're improving, I shouldn't be improving to be better than you. I should be improving to build the quality of the moment. So you have to elevate your quality. And then that challenges me to have to continue to elevate the quality of the thing, the mission, the purpose of what we're doing together, but not necessarily, look at me, I'm better." Right. So there is that truth to it. What we got here? "It is very isolating, as when out with friends, they often get that far off look in their eye, and you've talked too much about what you're currently working." Well, yeah, there's this thing. I don't know if they do it in over across the pond, but again, I was in the music industry. I was a touring comedian, right? I've all these other things, right? If I did theater shows. And the thing I learned early on is, don't ask your friends and family to support you, but they can support you, right? And there are comedians definitely talk about this, because they have to do bringer shows, right? If you're not really moving around in the industry and you're just stuck doing bringer shows, what do? They got to bring you. Oh, you can't perform unless you have 5 people, right? At least in the States. And so they always talk about the same feeling, which is every time I go to a family event, they all sort of scatter like cockroaches as I enter, because they know I'm going to ask them to come to my next show. And the same thing with authors and bands, come to my show, buy my book, or whatever the case may be. Oh, by the way, I have a movie, buy a ticket for the movie. And it just, because they become an external desire for personal success, meaning I see them as an opportunity to build my numbers, and they shouldn't be that, right? And it should be about you being truthful to your mission, which is whatever the thing is you care about, not necessarily the book, but the themes, the stories you're trying to tell, the deeper truths. And when people start connecting with that, they start connecting with your brand, because that's marketing 101, right? Marketing is developing a brand to ultimately establish a message. And marketing 101 is the rule of 10%, 10%, 10%, which means if you could develop an emotional relationship with your audience and your brand, 10% of the people who are seeing your brand in presentation, meaning you're either doing something, you're posting something, you're out and about, whatever the case may be, 10% will become interested in what you're representing. So if 1,000 people see something consistently, and they will start going, "Ah." So basically 100 people will be like, "Oh, look at that. Oh, what is that?" And out of those 100 people, 10% will be or I should say, I'm sorry, I apologize. The first 10% is awareness. They'll be like, "Oh, what is that?" So out of those 100 people, the next 10% will then become interested. So 10 people of those 100 will be like, "Oh, let me look into this." And out of those 10 people, 10%, which is one person, will buy into it. Buying doesn't mean that they're going to purchase it, but they buy into the emotional connection of it and stuff like that. "Only 2 of my real friends know I write." That's excellent. That is excellent. I mean, it'd be nice if more people knew you wrote within your circle, but not because you run over to them and be like, "Yo, I write, I'm a book," but because they love you and support you. Somebody once told me, "My mom told me my writing was good." And I was like, well, she has to. Just like she probably told you you were attractive too, but forgot to mention that your nose is missing a nostril. I'm just making jokes. The first part was actually true. My mom always said I was, not my mom, but the person said, "Oh, my mom always said I was really good at blank, blank, blank." And I'm like, they have to. Like, they love you. They want to be in. I mean, they don't have to. Let's be honest. My mom, for the first half of my music career, was like, "Get a job." And then when she saw me playing in a coliseum, she was like, "I always knew you'd make it. I always knew you. I always knew you had it in you." Or she always told me to cut my hair, you know. And I was like, "No, I can't cut my hair." And she's like, "You should cut your hair all the time. Oh, you would look so nice if you just cut your hair." And then I started getting gigs as an actor because of my hair. And she's like, "I'm so glad you listened and kept your hair." I'm like, "Listened? Yeah, I told you your hair is so beautiful." I don't know. Tell me, am I the only one who gets that? Am I the only one who deals with that? Not that I deal with it anymore. Shit. But anyway, what is it? 1:40? Oh, Jesus. It's almost 4:00 over here, which means it's almost 9:00 over in the, as they say in Italiano, Landra. 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 Not that Londra is England. but London, I believe, is also 5 hours difference. But yeah, I've been relearning the Italian, because I miss being able to speak it. And since no one speaks Italian around me, I had to start using devices. So I've been like relearning it, and Amo sono Tommaso. All right. Anyway, what we got here? It's almost 1 here. Oh yeah, well you're 3 hours earlier, so you're 1 p.m. All right, okay, all right. Spionk, Washington. Yeah, that's West Coast. West Coast. I am an East Coaster, but I may not necessarily be in the East Coast as of now. But I am in the East Coast of the Eastern Standard Time. I hope so. Otherwise, anyway, it's 4:00 almost. All right, let's do one more question. And we'll call it a day. One more question. Questions? But while I have you here, please subscribe if you haven't done so already. Like and comment. It definitely will help the page. So I am goes back into the conversation to remember what that's in response to. So I am. The Londra, 5 p.m. The 9 a.m. 9 p.m. Jesus. Oh, míos. All right. I guess that's it. I guess are we done? We're gonna call it a day. Next video. Oh, this is what I'll tell you in the next video on the series. Let's see. I will be doing another one of these. Let me pull up my schedule. Pulling up my schedule. Obviously, tomorrow is going to be the Write With Me series, where I write the book in real time. What is this? Italian is good because you can understand many other languages. Yeah, that's true. Grazie, gracie, which is Latin, gracias. That's it. That's all I know. I used to know Portuguese, but I do know, danka. I do know merci. I do, But yeah, the Italians are very close to the same languages. It's so good. So am I. I mean, oh, you're an. You are an East Coaster. You are the East Coaster. It's funny. Let's see. Next week, I'm going to be talking about logical narrative movement next Saturday for the live video. So you hear me, you say that term all the time, logical narrative movement. So I'm going to be talking about that and giving a lesson on logical narrative movement. As far as the next Rewrite the Greats. Oh, should I tell you who it is next time? Should I tell you? Should I tell you who I'm going to be writing? Should I tell you? Should I tell you? All right. If you've ever read Gone Girl, Gillian Flynn, I will be rewriting the greats. That'll be the next video in this particular series, but that will be in April 12th. And I will be older then. Because my birthday would have passed. Anyway. All right, there you go. What do we got today? Do I got to do anything? No. All right, close that out. Rewrite the grades. Okay, Gillian Flynn, Gone Girl. That's what it's going to be. Okay, everyone. I guess that's it. That was fun. I had a lot of fun. I'll be honest. I always have a lot of fun. All right. Ooh, I saw the movie, but never read the book. Honestly, it's like the same thing. However, the book doesn't have Ben Affleck, so that is a big difference. Doesn't have Ben Affleck. Doesn't have there's other stuff it doesn't have also, like cameras, and Neil Patrick Harris is not in the book. Oh, real funny about movies. When my father was a kid, like when he was like 6 or 7, whatever, he thought like actors, because movies were fairly new to my father, because he's because he was old. But he say like when he was a kid, movies were, especially when they started like with the talkies as they call them. If a character died, like if an actor, like a character died in a film, and then he saw like the actor in another movie, he was like, I thought they died. He thought that like they really killed the actors. And whatever. He was a very funny guy. He was a musician. He played guitar. He wanted to be an actor and a comedian, and but then he got sucked away to the Vietnam, and that changed everything. Got blown up in Vietnam. Survived, but still got blown up. So like when I started doing it, he was sort of like he was happy, but he also was like, he liked being around. Like I would bring him around behind the scenes. I'd let him hang out on sets. When I had my theater, he was always there, like hanging out with everybody and just making people laugh. It's good times. It was nice to give him that before he went. Anyway, he did tell me on his deathbed that he wasn't going to watch me poop. I just want you to know I love you, and because of that, you don't have to worry. If I am a ghost, if all that is real, I will not bother you when you poop. That was. I was like, thanks. I appreciate that. He goes, yeah. Anytime. Anyway, I guess that's it. We're done, right? It's 1:50. An hour and 50 minutes. All right. Anyway. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun. It was a good time. And you get it. You don't want to be watched when you're doing it. Anyway, I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. This is The Right Mindset. And as always, keep developing the right mindset. I'll see you next time. See you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's write a book together. All right, bye. Wait, what happened? It didn't work. Oh.